Students, welcome to this EDUSAT program. Yesterday, I heard a beautiful Telugu song on television. I really liked that song. And what happened yesterday? Throughout yesterday, I realized that I started singing that song again and again. I used to hum that song and I tried to sing that song, although I did not understand what was being sung, I did not understand the meaning of that song and I could not actually follow the words properly. Yet, I was so impressed by that song that I felt that that song was being played in my mind again and again. You must have also experienced such thing in your life. You might have heard some song in your mother tongue or in Hindi and you liked that so much that you started singing that again and again. That song was being played in your mind again and again. So, this is the kind of experience which tells us that song or music, they are permanent, they are eternal, they have a long lasting effect on our life, on our mind, even though we do not hear them all the time. Today, we will learn a poem which has a similar thing in it. The title of the poem is The Solitary Reaper. It is written by the famous English poet William Wordsworth. You see, before we go to learn this poem, let us consider the title of the poem. This particular poem is actually introduced this year in our textbook. It is the second poem in our textbook. Let us consider the title. You can see there are two important words in the title. One is solitary, another one is reaper. What is solitary? Solitary means single, alone, lonely. You can see that picture. There is a girl who is doing something. That girl is all alone. There is no one else in that picture, no other human being is there in that picture. So, we can say this girl is solitary. And what is reaper? A reaper is somebody who cuts and collects the crops. Here you can see also this girl is trying to cut the crop with the help of a sickle. She is holding a sickle in her right hand and there is a bundle of crop bound together. So, we can say she is cutting and collecting the crop, that means she is a reaper. Let us know, before going to the proper poem, let us know something more about the poet and the background of this poem. The poet. The poet, you can see the picture here, the picture of William Wordsworth. The poet William Wordsworth was born in 1770 and he passed away in 1850. He is considered as a great romantic poet in English language and he is also called the nature poet as he was a worshipper of nature. Nature and life of ordinary men and women were the theme of his poetry. That means, he talked of nature and the life of common people and he wrote in the language of common men. He did not use any high sounding words, hi-fi words or vocabulary to write his poetry. That means, he talked about the life of common men using the language of the common men, so that common people could understand his poetry. He also talked about nature. Now, coming back to this particular poem, this poem was written in 1805 and it was published in 1807 in the collection Poems in 2 volumes. Now, the original poem consists of 4 8-line stanzas, that means, in all 32 lines divided into 4 stanzas, each stanza of 8 lines. But here in our textbook, the poem consists of 8 4-line stanzas, means 8 stanzas, each stanza has 4 lines and what a 4-line stanza is called? It is called a quartet. So, in our textbook we have 8 4-line stanzas, but the original poem has 4 8-line stanzas. Now, let us come to understand the background of the poem before we go to the proper poem. We know that this poem was written by William Wordsworth from his own experience. Actually, the poet had an experience of visiting the mountainous regions of Scotland. Scotland, you know, it is a part of Great Britain, it is towards the north of England. This country has beautiful mountains and valleys, and the poet went there due to some work, and there he saw a beautiful lonely reaper girl, and he talks about that reaper girl in this poem. Let us go to the proper poem. Let me read that aloud for you. Let me read the whole poem for you, and you try to follow me. I read that poem. The Solitary Reaper. Behold her single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady hunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old, unhappy, far off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humbly familiar matter of today? Some natural sorrow, loss or pain that has been and may be again? Whatever the theme, the maiden sang as if her song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work and over the sickle bending. I listened, motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore long after it was heard no more. So, I read the whole poem aloud to you. Now, let us understand the poem stanza by stanza. Let us take the first two stanzas and understand the meaning. The first two stanzas, let me read them aloud again to you. The Solitary Reaper. Behold her single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. Before we analyze these two stanzas, there might be certain words which are unfamiliar to you, which might be difficult to you for understanding. Therefore, I have put them in the glossary. The meanings are given. We can see them. Behold, behold means to look at or see something. Yon, yon means over there. It is actually the short form of yonder. This word was used in old days. Nowadays, we do not use this word. This word is used in old days, especially in poetry. Then solitary. As you know, I have already explained solitary means single or alone. Highland. In this particular poem, highland means the mountain regions of Scotland. Then lass. It is also a word which was used previously. Nowadays, this word is not used. It was used especially in poetry. It means a young woman or a girl. This word is of Scottish origin. Then melancholy strain. Melancholy strain means sad song. Melancholy means sad, strain means song or music. So, melancholy strain means sad song. Then vale profound. Vale means valley. What a valley we can understand in the next slide when we see the picture. Vale profound means deep valley. Let us go to the next slide to understand what a vale profound is. You can see here the picture of a mountainous region. There are mountains all around, and in the center of that mountain, in the center of that picture, you can see there is a low lying area. A low lying area surrounded by high mountains is called a valley, and a vale profound means deep valley. When the mountains are very high, the valley becomes deep. Therefore, it is called vale profound. So, you can see the picture and you can understand what a vale profound is. Now, go back to the let us go back to the two stanzas and understand their meaning. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass. The poet is talking about a solitary, a lonely highland lass, a girl who belongs to the mountainous regions of Scotland. She is single, and where is she? She is yon, means she is over there. The poet is at a distance from the girl, and he says that the girl is over there. And how is she? She is single in the field. She is all alone in the field. The words like single and solitary, they are used to say that the girl is lonely. And what is she doing? She is reaping and singing by herself. Since she is a reaper, she is reaping, she is cutting and collecting the crops. But apart from reaping, she is also singing. You might have found people who, when they work, when they do something, do some work, they also sing, so that they can enjoy their work also. There are many people who sing while working. So, that keeps them busy and that keeps them happy. Here also the girl is reaping, she is busy in her work, and she is also singing. And how is she singing? She is singing by herself. That means she is immersed in her song, she is not bothered about anybody else around in that valley. There is actually nobody, the poet is at a distance, and the girl is unconcerned about anyone else. She is completely immersed in her work. निज कामरे से पूरा आत्मविभोर हो जाइछि, हजि जाइछि, मजि जाइछि. She doesn't bother about anyone else around her. Now the poet tells, behold her, the very first words. The poet tells the passers-by, the people who were perhaps moving around in that area. The poet tells, you look at that girl who is over there, who is reaping and singing. She is all alone in that valley. Stop here or gently pass. He asked the passers-by to look at her, and since the girl is singing, if they want to listen to her song, they should stop there and listen to her song. Therefore, he says, stop here. If you want to enjoy her song, her melodious voice, then you should stop here and enjoy her music. Or if you do not want, if you have some work, you want to go away, then pass by gently, do not disturb, pass by quietly, do not disturb the girl, so that the girl's song would stop. So, basically in this stanza, what the poet tells us is that he sees a highland mountain girl, a reaper girl who was reaping, and she was singing, and the poet enjoyed her song, he liked her song, and he tells the passers-by to look at her, to stop there and enjoy her song, or otherwise they should pass by quietly without disturbing her. Let us go to the next stanza. The stanza is, alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Same thing, she cuts and binds the grain means she is reaping, and what is she, what else she is doing? She is singing a melancholy strain. She is reaping and singing. Already the poet had told that she is reaping and singing. But what kind of song she is singing? A melancholy strain, a sad song. How could the poet know that she was singing a sad song? Does the poet understand the meaning? Well, we can without understanding the meaning also we can know that some song is sad or happy from the tone, from the voice of the singer. So, here also the poet understands that the girl is singing a sad song. Then again he asks, requests the passers-by, oh listen. Earlier he told the passers-by to look at her, to stop there and enjoy her song. Again he says, oh listen. Why? For the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. The poet says this whole valley, deep valley, is overflowing with the sound. The whole valley is echoing with the melodious voice of this reaper girl. The whole valley is filled with the voice of this reaper girl. So, basically what we talked is, in these two stanzas, the poet tells us that he saw a girl, a reaper girl in the mountainous region. The girl was busy in her work, and she was just singing song without being concerned about anyone else. She was singing by herself. Then he asked the passers-by to look at her, stop there and enjoy her song, or if they do not want to enjoy her song, if they have some other work to do, they can go away, but they should go away quietly without disturbing the girl. Then again he tells us that the girl is singing a sad song, but that sad song has such an impact, such an effect, that the whole valley is filled with the melodious voice of that girl. So, the poet is again asking the passers-by to listen to her song, because the whole valley is echoing with the sound of that solitary reaper's voice. Let us understand stanzas 3 and 4. Let me read that aloud to you again. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady hunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Before we understand these two stanzas, there are difficult words, unknown words. Let me explain that to you. There is the glossary, it is given. Chant means chant or sing. Weary means tired, exhausted. Haunt means a frequently visited place, a place which is frequently visited. Shady hunt means oasis. We will go to the next slide and understand the meaning of oasis with the help of a picture. Then Arabian sands means the deserts of Arabia. You know that there is a country called Saudi Arab, and there is a vast desert in that country and in the surrounding countries. So, the poet is talking about that desert in the Arabs. Then Hebrides is an island group to the northwest of Scotland. Let us go to the next slide to understand certain words with the help of pictures. You can see there is a bird, it is called nightingale. This nightingale is a beautiful singer, it is one of the best singers in nature. In fact, in our day to day life, the best singers they are compared to nightingales. You know, there is the great singer in Hindi, Lata Mangeshkar, she is called the Nightingale of India due to her melodious voice. So, here you can understand what a nightingale is, how melodious her voice is. Now, bands of travellers in desert, to the right side top you can see there is a group of travellers who are travelling in a desert on the back of camels. You can see there is sand and sand all around, there is no tree, no shade, no river, no pond, no water in that desert. You can understand while travelling in that desert under the scorching heat of the sun, how tired these travellers might be feeling, how exhausted these travellers might be feeling. Then you can see to the bottom it is the picture of an oasis. What is an oasis? We know that in the desert there is no water, but at certain places there are fountains, there are springs, some ponds, some water hole, source of water, and around that source of water plants and trees grow. Especially date and palm trees grow, and the people who reside in that area, they grow crops in that area. And for the people who travel in the desert, this oasis provides them welcome relief. It provides them shade, it provides them shelter, it provides them drinking water and food. So, whenever a group of travellers they go through the desert and see an oasis, they feel really excited and happy. Then let us go to the next slide and see some more pictures. You can see there is another bird, cuckoo bird. It is also one of the best singers. We call it koili in our language, in Hindi we call that koel. You know, it is a beautiful singer, melodious singer, it sings in spring. Then towards the top left you can see there is the map of Europe, and the arrow mark is given to show the British islands there. And to the right you can see the map of Great Britain or the British island. Its south is there is England, and towards its north, the north of England you can see the Scotland, and there is the yellow arrow mark you can see it is written Highlands. That although the whole of Scotland is a mountainous region full of mountains and valleys, but that highland areas is especially mountainous. So, when the poet is talking about the highlands, he is referring to that highland region, and you can see to the left of that highlands, the red arrow mark, that there is an island group, it is called the Hebrides. When the poet is talking about Hebrides and the farthest Hebrides, he is talking about the remotest Hebrides island, which is hardly inhabited. Now, let us go back to the poem and understand its meaning. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. So, the poet is talking about a place, that is the Arabian desert, and he is talking about people. Who are they? They are the bands of travellers, group of travellers. What is their condition? How are they? They are weary or tired. After moving around in that desert, travelling in that desert for long days, they are really tired, and they are in search of some shelter, some water. Where do they find that? In some shady haunt, in some oasis. So, in the Arabian desert, a group of tired travellers who are really exhausted, very necessarily they want some water, some shelter, and they find an oasis. They must be feeling excited, thrilled, and they try to go towards that area. And what do they find in that oasis? There is a nightingale who is singing, and here when the travellers hear the song of the nightingale, they feel that they are being welcomed by the song of the nightingale. So, that increases their excitement, that increases their happiness. So, the poet says nightingale welcomes the tired travellers with a song, but then he says that the nightingale's song cannot be compared to the reaper's song. The solitary reaper has a much more melodious voice. Therefore, the poet says no nightingale did ever chant, no nightingale could ever sing in such melodious voice. Again, in the fourth stanza, the poet talks about another bird, that is cuckoo bird, and he talks about a place, that is the farthest Hebrides, and he says, he talks also about a season, spring season. He says that these farthest Hebrides, which is a very cold region, we can say, there the sea is silent, there is complete silence all around, and in that silence, in the springtime, before springtime, winter is there, it is very harsh, all around there is silence, it is not enjoyable at all. But what happens with the arrival of the spring, the cuckoo starts singing. We all know that cuckoo sings in spring. So, the arrival of the springtime is announced by the song of the cuckoo bird, and with her song, with her voice, the silence of the sea is broken, and that is really thrilling. The silence of the sea which is broken by the cuckoo bird's song is so thrilling that it cannot be explained in words, it has to be experienced. But again the poet says the reaper's voice is much more thrilling, even the cuckoo bird could never sing in such thrilling voice. Therefore, he says a voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from cuckoo bird. So, in this part we read in the first 4 stanzas that the poet finds or sees a reaper girl in the highlands, in the mountainous regions of Scotland. That girl was reaping and she was singing a sad song, and the whole valley where she was working was filled with the melodious voice of that reaper's song. Then the poet asked the passers-by to behold her, to look at her and enjoy her song by stopping there and listen to her song. He says, oh listen, and he says, if you do not want to listen, if you want to go away, please go away quietly, do not disturb. And again in the next 2 stanzas, in stanza 3 and 4, he compares the solitary reaper's song to that of the 2 best singers of nature, and he feels that the solitary reaper's song is incomparable. The song of the nightingale and the cuckoo, they cannot be compared, they are no match to the melodious voice, to the beautiful voice of the solitary reaper's song.